What is up, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Nash, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to use pivot tables, and we're going to be using a real life example. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so as you can see here, this is going to be the data that we're going to be working with. This is sales data, so you can see the order IDs, you can see the shipping dates, you can see the customer ID, you can even see the country, city, state, postal code. So this is the information that you put into a website if you're ordering something online. You have things like the region. We also have the category of, like, the products that are being sold, furniture, office supplies and technology, and you actually have the actual product names. And we also have this is subcategory, and the actual product names, and you also have sales, quantity, discounts, and profit. Okay, so this is a lot of data, and this is the kind of data that you're going to be presented with. But the people that are trying to make those data-driven decisions, they're not trying to see all of this data, because this looks messy and this looks like there's a lot going on here. All right, so I'm going to be using hypothetical situations where a manager asks you for something. All right, so the first one is going to be trying to find how many orders came from each state. So essentially, we're looking for how many orders came from Texas, how many orders came from Florida, right? So that's what we're going to be looking at. All right, so to get started here, we're going to go to insert, and we're going to go ahead and grab our pivot table. Now this is going to pop up here. If you've never seen this before, this is essentially selecting the table range, so it's selecting the entire table. Now here, you want to put this on a new worksheet, because I believe it's going to be a lot cleaner rather than trying to make space for it on this same worksheet. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And this is going to take us to our new page. So if you look on the right here, you're going to see that these are going to be the fields that we have to add to our pivot table over here. Okay. Now the manager was asking for the number of orders per state. All right. So we're going to go ahead and find the orders here. So this is going to be, I believe it's going to be quantity, I guess. So if we go back here to our data, you can see that the quantity is how much was ordered, right? So I'm going to go back to sheet 2, and I'm going to get the quantity, and we're going to put this in values, right? So values. So you can see that now it's only showing us the total. So this is all the orders that were made. If you ever want to verify this stuff, it's pretty easy. You can just go over here and you can select this, you do Control Shift down arrow, and you're gonna see the total on the bottom here. Now we're trying to find this by every state. So we're gonna go ahead and try to find the state, which is right here. And we're gonna put this in rows, right? So that we can have it on the side here. Now you can also put it in columns, but you kind of like want to avoid that because you have to scroll to the right if it's like a lot of data. So if I try to put this in here, you can see that I have to scroll to the right in order to like find my answers. So it's more efficient to put it in rows, right, where you can just scroll down. Now if we look at this pivot table here, you can see that now it's actually showing you that in Alabama there were 256 orders. So it's breaking it down by state now, because we have the state over here. So if you go to the bottom, I hit Control down arrow, you can see that we have our total that we had before. But this is just breaking it down by state, right? So if you wanted to pick a specific state, you can click this drop down here and you can pick a state. So let's look for Texas, right? Texas, and enter. You can see that Texas, we had 3,724 orders that came from Texas. Okay, and you can always remove the filter if you want to do that. All right, so the next one is going to be finding the sum of sales in each state. So first we're finding the number of orders. Now we're going to try to find the sum in each state. If we had 3,000 orders from Texas, how much was that in sales? So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so to do this, we're going to go ahead and grab the sales and we're going to put them in the values here, right? So now as you can see that we have the sum of sales right next to the sum of quantity. So we can remove the quantity if we don't want to see that. You can just click drag and just drag it out. Now we only have the sales, right? So I'm going to put it back. I'm going to put back the quantity. I think it gives it a little more life here. Where is it at quantity? I'll put it right above this. So we have the quantity and the sales. So these need to be in a dollar amount. So we can go to our sum of sales over here. Just click on it and go ahead and click value field settings. Now, once you go here, go ahead and click number format, click on that. And now you can change this to currency. So click on that. There we go. Now, do we need any decimals? Let's do 2 decimal places. And we have the dollar sign here. Go ahead and hit OK. And go ahead and hit OK over here. Now you can see that these are all dollar amounts now. So if we go to the bottom, I'm going to hit Control down arrow. You can see that this is our grant total here. So it's going to be per state. So if you want to, you can filter by state in order to find the sum of sales in every state. Now what if you wanted to find the average sales in every state? All right, so to find the average sales, we're not going to add anything new. We're just going to go ahead and go to our sales. So we're going to click that little drop down here, and you're going to go to value field settings. Now you're going to go ahead and change the summarize field by section here. So we're going to change it to average, right? So as you can see, you have more options here. If you want to do the count, if you want to do there's so many options here. But for now, we're looking for the average. Go ahead and hit OK. Now you can see that these numbers change into averages, right? So if you do control down arrow, you can see that now we have an average, averages all the way through. So these are going to be the average per state. Okay. If you want to change this back to the sum, you can go ahead and click the drop down. You're going to go to value field settings. You want to go ahead and go back to sum. Go ahead and click OK. There we go. So now we have our sum as well. All right, so now let's say they're asking for how many products were sold in each state. So it could be a specific product or maybe a subcategory to make things a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the values that I have over here. So we have the state because we need the state. Now we're going to go ahead and find the products here. So what I can do is I can go ahead and find, so we're looking at the quantity. So I'm going to go ahead and put the quantity over here. So this is what we have earlier. So we have the state and how much was sold in each state. Now we can also add the product names. Let's do a subcategory. I think this will work. I'm going to go ahead and put this in filters, right? So the way this is going to work is when you have it in filters, you're going to see it up here. So if I click the drop down and you want to click select multiple items, it's going to select everything. Now let's say that I wanted to look for art. How many art products were sold in each state, right? Click OK. Now you see that these were sold in these states here. So we have Alabama with 38, Arizona with 47. Now another way to do this, if you don't want to use the filter, you can actually bring the products or the subcategory down to the rows as well. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and remove the filter that's right here because we put that filter earlier. Exit out of that. So now you can see that this groups this by, we have Alabama, shows you all the products that were sold in Alabama. You also have the number of products that were sold per each product, right? So you have the ability to kind of like change this data. So if you want to put the subcategory first, you can just move it up here, move it up. So now you have the subcategory and the states are going to be right here. So accessories were sold in all these states, and this is how many were sold. Okay. All right. So now let's say that you have completed your analysis, you have the information that's needed, and you have to present your findings to your manager. And you know that those people usually don't know how pivot tables work, and they don't want to look at data like that. So I want to show you how to create graphs using pivot table. Let's say you wanted to create a chart using this. So you're going to go to pivot table analyze, and you're going to see that on the right side here we have pivot chart. So you can click on recommended charts if you want some, if you want to see some of the recommendations that are on here. But I recommend just going to pivot chart, and there's going to be some recommended charts on here as well, right? So you can kind of like look at the column charts, the line charts, pie charts, bars, what's the area. These are some really cool charts here. So let's just go to column here. Go ahead and hit OK. All right, so this is our chart. Now we'll make it a little bigger so you guys can really see what's happening here. So to make this simpler, we can remove the sum of sales. So we can remove the sum of quantity. So we can just have our sales on here. Okay. To make the chart very simple, we have our state and our sum of sales, right? So this is what we have. The state is going to be right here on the x-axis, and then the sum is going to be on the y-axis here. So the cool thing about these charts is that they change as the data changes. All right, so let's say that I wanted to add the discounts on here, right, as one of the bars here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the discounts. I'm going to put it right underneath the sum of sales. So we have our discounts. So you can barely see them here, but they're the ones in red. It's because they're really small. So let's see if I can zoom into here. Yeah, you can still barely see them. Because they're just minor and they're not in every state. So you can see that we have our discounts. Now you can see that our data has been added on here. So we have the sum of sales and the sum of discounts. It's been accounted for over here. Okay. Now, so this chart is going to change as you add and remove data. So even if you changed, let's say we go over here and this is our original data, and then we deleted all the discounts, right? So let's go ahead and delete all the discounts. Now, if we go to our sheet here, you see that we still have the discounts. So what you have to do is go to pivot chart analyze, or let's click on the pivot table actually, and then go to pivot table analyze. And if you hit refresh on here, see that our discounts are going to disappear simply because they're not in the original data anymore. And this also updates our table as well. Okay, so that was a quick way of creating a table. All right, so that was a really quick way of showing you guys how you can quickly create these tables using the pivot table data. But we'll make a dedicated video on how you can master creating these charts using pivot table data. But thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you guys want to see anything else in the future related to Microsoft Excel. And if you like the video, make sure to like the video. Also, make sure to go and hit the subscribe button below if it's already. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.